Second point, أن الشهادة أن لا إله إلا الله أول واجب وهي أول ما يدعى إليه الناس. That to testify that none has the right to be worshipped other than Allah is the very first obligation upon a person, and thus it is the very first thing that the people are to be invited to. And that's a very important point, and I'd like to stop just for a second to make sure that we, the people of the West, the people who speak the language of English fluently and easily, when we address the Western people and we invite them to Islam, let us not take the way, the manhaj in daʿwah of those who contradict the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And let us take this hadith as our guide and as a list of priorities for us. You see, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us priorities and told us to invite them, or told Muʿādh specifically, and then everyone who would go to a people to call them to Islam behind Muʿādh, to invite them first to single out Allah with their worship. And he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, quite profoundly here, if they obey you in that, then inform them that Allah has prescribed 5 daily prayers upon them. Now, we've been talking a lot when we talk about deriving understanding from the texts of the book and the sunnah about something called the mafhum al-mukhalafa, the opposite understanding. It's a very important tool for understanding the text as it was meant to be understood. So if we understand here that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, if they obey you in that, meaning if they single out Allah with their worship and abandon shirk, then you inform them that there are 5 daily prayers every day. Then you go to the second pillar of Islam and inform them about that obligation. As the opposite understanding, what do you understand about that? If they reject that Allah has the right to be worshipped alone, and they do not accept that from you, do you go on and teach them the rest of the pillars of Islam? Or do you continue in your call, in your invitation, in your attempts to get them to realize, to recognize the right of Allah to be worshipped alone? That's what you do. You continue. And you do not go to the second step in daʿwah, the second priority, until you have led the people by Allah's permission to affirming Allah's sole right to be worshipped alone. That lets you know that to tell a non-Muslim about the 5 salawat and what Fajr means and how many rakat and how it's to be offered, while he has not affirmed that Allah deserves worship alone and that none deserve worship beside Him, is a mistake when it comes to the priorities of the daʿwah to Allah, as understood clearly in this hadith. Invite them to testify that none have the right to be worshipped other than Allah, and if they obey you in that, then inform them that there are 5 salawat, 5 salat made obligatory upon them in every day and night. So we have steps to follow. What benefit would it be if you explain to them and help them to understand the fiqh of the salat, wudu, purification, the times of the prayers, and they do not agree with you that Allah has the right to be worshipped alone? What will the benefit be of the discussion of issues of salat if they refuse to worship Allah alone in the first place? Take note of this point, as it is often either disregarded or not understood by people who call to Islam. And they may spend a lot of efforts talking about not only salat or zakat, but what's even further away from the top of the list of priorities, like issues of the Islamically legislated punishments, or jihad, or hijab, or the prohibition of alcohol, or many other issues that people give priority to when they invite to Islam. And our daʿwah, according to the guidance of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, should be focused, should be targeted, should be that we target the issue of singling out Allah as the only object of worship. And then once the people accept that from us, we can begin to educate them about the pillars of Islam.